Hey, what's up, folks? Today is February 22nd, 2025. My name is Eric, and I'm with Success Over Stress. Today we're going to talk about something kind of simple. We're going to keep it short. I know I said I was going to do a lot more of these videos, and I was at one time, but then I couldn't tell that you guys needed any help. So, that being said, I've done a lot of videos. Anything from OEL, objects, toolbox, all these different things, methods, all these different things with programming, EasyLanguage, TradeStation. And you guys seem to have the hang of it. So I don't need to do these videos as often. If you feel like I need to, then come on over to Discord, ask me some questions. Let's go over some things, or you can put a note in the comment section and I can go over it there. At any rate, I'm just going to keep on moving at the pace that I'm doing now. So what I do want to do today is I just made this quick little function, and I just want to talk about what I did, how I did it, and this was new for me, so I typically don't make these. I've done a little bit with functions in the past, but let me just kind of explain to you what I've done here, and hopefully it makes some sense to you, and maybe you can utilize some of it in your programming. So if we look at this page here, we're going to make a new function. So you go up here to new stuff, drag down to function, tap that. You put your function name, whatever you want to put, and you can put a double there. Okay, so here we're on our new function. This is TradeStation's function. All right, here we're on a new function. Okay, so if you, in the background of the function, you right click it, you can go down to properties, and for properties, I'm going to put series. So mostly, well, I think up until today, all of my functions have been simple functions, which means that they just use data from one current point. They don't look back any number of bars or anything like that. So this is my first time using a series function. So you guys should be excited that I brought you along on this journey. All right, so it's going to return a double, and it's going to be a series function. Cancel out of that. Okay, so what I did was I had to put an input, and this is a little bit different from a standard indicator, whereas on your variable declarations, you want to put the name and then you want to put the initial value. Well, for a function, you want to put the name, the variable name, and then instead of an initial value for input, instead of an initial value, you need to put the type of variable that it is. So is it a numeric? So is a number, is it numeric simple, or is it numeric series? Well, this price is going to be a numeric series. And then this here, this numeric reference means that it's going to make this variable available to the program that calls it, right? So the name of this is mean deviation, and here is the function. Here's my first parameter, second parameter, and then this third parameter here is the same as this third parameter over here. But because it's a numeric reference, these variables here go into the function. This one here is a numeric reference, so it allows it to come out of the function. And when it comes out of the function, it's going to have the name OAVG. Well, this OAVG has to also be declared in our indicator that we're using to call this function. Okay, all right, so pretty much what I was doing is I'm just trying to come up with some ideas of ways to see if a value is so far as an outlier away from the average. So I was considering doing just standard deviation, which gosh, what is it, like the sum of the squared, the sum of the difference of squares, something like that. Mean, I don't know. I know there's a mathematician that'll say, yeah, man, that's not it. And I'm sure that's not it. But what I decided to do was a mean deviation. So essentially, we're taking the mean, we're taking the average of all of the values, and then we're going to see what the deviation is from that mean for each of the values. And then we're going to add all those deviations up, and then we're going to divide them by the number of elements. Okay, so here we had a for loop here. All right, so you can hang out with me while I clean it up. Okay, so the first thing that we're doing is just making sure that our variables make sure variables are zeroed. Okay, zeroed. Let's just put 0 because I'm not sure. All right, and then so for our first loop, we're going to loop to add all the elements. Okay, because we have to find the average of the elements, and we know that to find the average of the elements, you have to add all the elements, and then you have to, what? Divide them by the number of elements. Okay, so here we're dividing by the number of elements. So we're taking the total price, which is this total price, and we do plus equals I price. Okay, now this is the part where, like I said, this is my first time using anything with numeric series in a function, but this is going to be numeric series. So instead of just it being one number, it allows it to be, you can use an index, and you can say, hey, I don't want just this first number that it is. I also want the number that was a bar ago, or the number that was a bar ago, or the number that it was a bar ago. And so we're using the index here, index from 0 to the number of elements minus 1. So for every iteration of this for loop, we're saying, let's take whatever this price is. Here it happens to be the low. We're going to take whatever this price is and add it to this total price variable. Total price variable starts off as 0. We're going to add this first price to it, and it'll be, let's say 7. And then when we come back into the index, we'll go to the next iPrice element and say it's the one before it, so it'll be 6. So 6 plus the 7 is 13. And then when we go back into it the next time, it'll be 5. So 5 plus 13 is 18. It'll keep going, so forth and so on. All right, so now that we have the total here, we want to divide by the number of elements. We can go ahead and do that division there. We don't have to worry about the denominator being 0 because we know that the number of elements will come in and it won't be 0. And if you're looking for a mean deviation of 0 elements, then you've got a problem in the head. You've got a real problem. All right, so now that we have the average, now we want to see what the deviation is from the average, right? Is that right? Yeah, so we're going to do an absolute value. We're going to say, what is the price? Okay, we're doing another loop though. All right, and we're going to say, what is the price, and subtract the average from it. And so that'll give us a deviation. And then we're going to plus equal that, just like we did up here. We're going to plus equal that to this whole average. I could have called that something else, but I didn't. So anyway. Find the deviation. This is actually the sum, right? Find the deviation sum. Okay. Let's go ahead and change it. Deviation sum. I'm going to copy that. We're going to replace that with this, and then place that here. Okay. Now that we have this deviation sum here, now this is the total of the deviations. And so now we need to divide that total of deviations by the number of elements. Again, just like we did here with this average. But this is the mean deviation that we're looking for. Yeah. So this is the mean, the average of the deviations. So this is the mean deviation that we're looking for. And so the name of this function becomes what we put here. And then so what we are returning from this call of the function is this mean of deviations. Got it? Okay, so now remember, we're also doing something else. So this O average here is our average of the elements. It's just a simple average, if you will. Okay. Now we have I elements here, so it's pretty much the number of elements, right? And that's what we're using here. Okay, so we go over to the indicator that we're using it in. We're going to assign this variable of value 1, which is just going to be I guess it's just a double. But anyway, the mean deviation here, once we assign this by calling this function, it's also accessing OAVG, right? Because remember, it spits out OAVG. It spits it out. We got a variable here to hold it, spits it out. Now we could have called this anything. It doesn't have to be what this is, right? So we could call it OAVG times 3. But if we do that, then this needs to be times 3. Okay, because this is just a variable name. This is just a kind of variable name. This is a variable name. Remember, this is a numeric reference, so this is getting the information from the function. Okay, so now that we ran this function, we got a value, and that value is assigned to value 1, and also this variable here, OAVG times 3, has now captured the information from this function at this place right here, OAVG. Okay, so now that we have that, we can say if the low of the bar is less than the 9-period moving average and the absolute value of the low minus the average. So what is this? The low minus the average is the deviation. Okay, so now we want to say, is this deviation greater than this deviation, right? Because this is the mean deviation over the last 10 bars. So is this current bar's deviation greater than the deviation of 10 bars times 3? If it is, then we're going to plot a low at red. Okay, all right, so that was a lot. That was a mouthful. Come over here and we look at this chart. This chart here has that indicator applied to it. You know, I don't know that it's anything significant, but I needed to create the function. I needed to make sure that I understood how the function works so that I can make more robust scripts. But you see here, that one's no good. Here. Okay, so that's essentially what it does. Those don't look terrible. But now if we want to go and we want to change this, so instead of it saying, is this deviation from the over the mean, is it 3 times greater? Let's say, is it 2 times or 1.5 times greater? And we verify that. Now we get a lot more indications. Okay, so that's just saying that these bars here, the close of the bar from the average of the last 10 bars, it's within so it's within 1.5 mean deviations from the mean, or deviations from the mean. Okay, so if we said, let's see, we'll say if the low is, if it's less than low and the absolute value of the low minus the average is greater than, greater than, because if this was the smaller that we make this overall value, the easier it is for this deviation to be greater than it, right? So if we make this overall value higher by putting it at 3 or something like that, then the price has to really drop away from the kind of moving average in order for it to qualify. So if we said 0, then this would just essentially be saying that the price has to be, that the deviation, or the difference between the close and the 10-period moving average of the close, is that we're saying that the close is greater than 10-period moving average of the close, essentially, which you see that these candles are. Plus, they're over their the low has got to be less than the 9-period moving average. Okay. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. So I hope you guys got something out of this. It's only 15 minutes, but I think it was action-packed when we're talking about making functions and doing something a little bit more complex, going from a simple moving function, a simple function, to a series function. Of course, you can use auto detect, but if you know what you want it to be, then go ahead and set it. I think that's the best way to do things. And also, another quick little tip here is that some of the senior programmers have informed me, if you will, that yeah, when you are making your indicators, if you know, well, and there's a couple things, right? So if you're playing around with it and you're trying to figure out what you're going to add to it, if you're going to add a 200-period moving average to it or something like that, then yes, you're going to change the number of bars that's required to make it work. But if you're not, then it's a good idea to use a user-defined, right? So as far as your number of MaxBarsBack that you're referencing. So the programs, if you're looking at any bars in the past, they require you to already access or have at your disposal at least that many number of bars to work with. Okay, so the programs can auto detect it, or you can just set it as user defined, and that way you can reduce the number of times and the programming that's required to make these things run. Which reminds me, I need to go and change that for a lot of my programs. Okay, but so like when you're looking here, when you are looking at, this isn't showing up. Okay. All right. So when you're looking at this and you say, all right, well, I know that I'm going to look at least 10 bars back. And I'm looking at a 9-period moving average. So I at least need 9 bars back. Then I'll just go one more than 10 and I'll say set this at 11. Set it at 11. Come back here, show you the whole thing, hit OK. Or actually, we have to set it over here because it's already on the chart. What I was setting just prior there, it was actually for the for default. All right, not verified. What we got here? Hold average. We changed that, right, to deviation sum. Okay. All right, boom, 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 bam. Let's turn that on. Let's customize it. We're going to customize that to 11. When we hit OK, we shouldn't have any errors, right? It still comes up, it works. Okay, but now if we change this, instead of 11, if we change this to like 8, remember, we at least need a 9-period moving average. And then on our deviation function, we were looking at 10 bars back. So we needed 9 and we needed 10, and we're putting that we're only allowing it to look back 8 bars. Hit OK, hit close, and now you get an error. Where's my error window at? Dun, dun, dun. Here it is. Okay, you get an error. Try to reference back more bars than allowed by the current MaxBarsBack setting. Okay, so essentially, all you got to do is make sure. And again, this is already set up as that you can do it as auto detect, so you don't have to really play with this stuff. But I'll tell you why you may want to play with it. And I'm talking about the program. All right, so we set it at 11. That passes our 9 and 10 bar requirement. Now, let's open this up. Let me show you something. Let's go here, and I'm gonna once print hello Eric. Now watch this. Now when I print that, watch this print log. Okay, hello Eric. All right, it printed it just once, but let's clear that. Now we're going to go over here, and on the mean deviation, we did user defined, right? So it ran the program one time. It was a clean run, no issues. Change that from user defined to auto detect. Hit OK, and you see it ran it twice. But you say, hey Eric, why did it run it twice? That's crazy. You said on your script to run it one time. Yeah, I know. The thing is that when you run it as auto detect, it runs, as I understand, it runs the program one entire time. And during that time that it runs it, it says, oh, you need 9. Oh, you need 10. Okay, so we're going to set the MaxBarsBack setting to 11. It runs it through all your bars. It runs it through the whole thing one full time to find out what your max bar setting needs to be in order for it to function properly. Once it gets done with that, it automatically sets your MaxBarsBack setting, and then it runs it the second time. Now the second time is your final run, if you will. But guys, gals, I get it. Everything is easier with auto, but at the startup, when you're starting your computer up and that kind of thing, and you're running all your programs, and if you have some of these heavy programs, heavy intense programs, you don't want everything to run twice. It will take forever for your computer to start up, for everything to run and get set up, which takes resources and manpower from other functions and other calculations. So if you know a little bit about your system and you know what's required of it, I'd say go ahead and set it up as a, where you know what it is. Use your properties and set up it as user defined. Now, if you're not sure, then you can do this. So if you have a very long script, I've got some very long scripts. I don't know, this one isn't that long. Yeesh. I don't know which one to pull up, but I've got some very long scripts. But so if you have a very long script, then you say, man, it's hard for me to go through it all and figure out how many MaxBarsBack I need. Well, do this. So come over here, go to customize, go to use auto detect, and then do this. So we're going to print MaxBarsBack. Boom. Okay. So now you see what happened, right? When I did print MaxBarsBack, it printed for me. It let me know that the MaxBarsBack setting should be 10. If you go up here, it first started off, it said it should be 1 because it was trying to figure out what the MaxBarsBack setting should be. But so ultimately it settled on 10. All right, so what do you do now? You go back to, now technically what you would want to do is go back into your program, go to properties, and then set the default of your program to 10. Hit that as default, yes, okay. And then when you come back over to your program or your chart, you can set that to 10 also. Like I said, I usually do 1 over just for overkill, just to be safe. But there you go, there's your 10. And then when you come back to your program, you can just be sure to turn off the print for the MaxBarsBack. And that way you didn't have to try to figure it out yourself. You let the computer do the calculation. And now when you run it, you're only running it one time. So I'll show you, I've got another script here. These scripts here, like this is a longer script. And how about my news bar? My news bar script. Okay, so my news bar script Customize. I've got it as auto detect. For my news bar script, I don't think I need any historic bars. So instead of letting it run a full 2 times, I should just set this. I'm just going to set it as 2. And that way, even if I set it as 2, it's just going to assume, it's just going to make available 2 bars on the chart before it starts doing anything, right? Before it starts making any calculations. Now, it's waiting 2 bars before it technically does anything calculations that wise, but you get the whole advantage of it not running all the bars once and then finding the max bars and then running all the bars again. Okay, so we're gonna hit OK there. Close that out. All right. Did I get an error? I did. News bar's back. Okay. Let's figure out why I got an error. So we're gonna look at my news bar script, and you can check it out. It's not my huge moneymaker, but I really do enjoy my news bar script. Okay, let's see, where's news bar? Go here, edit easy language. Okay, so here's my news bar script. Okay, so why is it saying that I need more than 2 bars? Low 5, max bars back minus 10. So I'm at least asking for it to go back 10 bars to this is where I'm putting my, so if we go here, I don't think I have anything else on here. No. So I don't have any other news events here, but if I, on a normal day, I will have all the news events right here for the entire week. And I've pretty much got it set up to start this anchor at 10 bars back, right? So let's go up here, edit studies, news bar, status customized. So we turned it on instead of user defined. So we know we need at least 10 bars. So let's go back 12 bars and then we're going to hit OK, then hit close. All right, now we don't have any errors, right? So good. Now that's good. That's clean. It only runs 1 time. It does run twice, and we don't have any errors with the max bar back setting. Yeah, there's my news events right there. Okay, so if I turn that off, news disappears. If I turn it on, news shows up, and it paints the bars according to if it's a red folder or an orange folder. News, unemployment claims dropped, FOMC ran up. Okay, all right, so you get the idea. And then I've got one other script that is one of my bread and butters right now. That's the Eagle token, which saves everything to my computer. So that's this guy. And I want to see, I'm going to do this off screen, I guess, but I want to see how many bars I need for the max bars back on this. So what I'm going to do is just in my on the program, I'm just going to say once print max bars back. Okay. Then come over here and see what we got. Because this program does a lot. And so I really don't need it running multiple times. I need it to be fairly efficient. Okay, well, just tried to lock the whole thing down. See? Okay. Infinite loop. Now this is new. Let's see. This is for the 1 minute time frame. That's fine. I'm not working with that right now. Let's go back to here. Print MaxBarsBack. Just so we can identify what we're doing. We're going to put 55.5. That format, that. What is this going to be? Eagle token, that. Okay. And that. And a G here. And verify. Okay, so now we come back over here. See how long it takes us to get it started. Now I have this running probably on three workspaces. So one for ES, one for NQ. Well, I got one for ES 15 second, one for ES 1 minute, one for NQ, and then one for a penny stock. So you see it shows up several times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, but the main thing that we're looking for is that Eagle token shows up just as one time being the MaxBarsBack setting. So we need to just set this for 1, right? You following the logic? Go to properties, and instead of auto detect, go to 1, make that the default. Yes. This typically comes in when you're doing radar screen, loading additional data, as I understand. Okay, so we're gonna go here, go back to our chart. Okay, and then Eagle token, instead of user defined, we're gonna put 1, hit okay. Unfortunately, like I said, I mean, it kind of does a lot, so it loaded up fairly quickly. Okay. All right, so now we need to go and change that for the 1 minute time frame. That's what I say. This is all better when you do it at the start, and when you kind of have put your program together. When you do it at the start, you make it the default, and then you don't have to come in and do this kind of stuff. So I do have a lot of programs. I'm a year or so. I've got to see when I got started, but I'm a little bit more than a year into programming, and I'm kind of learning this now. So there's a lot of programs that I really need to do this to, but it'll make a world of difference. It'll make a world of difference. So, and then this penny stock that I've been looking at, change this. Okay. And like I said, some of my other stream writes and stream reads, these guys here, let's see, customize. They also, all these need to be changed. But for these, I don't think they do historical bars either, but I got to change it for all these. Inside, nope, no issues there. I got to change it for all these, but it'll make the computer load up a lot quicker. Okay, so let me just show you real quick what I meant by the MaxBarsBack needing so many bars before it gets started. Okay, so we know that for like a 10-period moving average, you got to have at least those 10 bars in order for it to start performing a 10-period moving average, or at least got to have 9 bars before it, and then that current bar is the 10th bar. Okay, so if we go to the beginning of this chart, and I've got the 9-period moving average on here. That's what that line is. You see, this line 9-period moving average doesn't start until here. It doesn't start at the beginning of the chart. It starts here. Well, how many bars back is that? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is that 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 bars. All right, let's see. Did I set this? 16 bars. We're going to edit this. Auto detect. 16 bars. I wonder why. Let's go take a look at it. Right click it, go to edit easy language. We're going to take a look at it. I'm just curious. All right, so we're plotting the 9-period moving average. Like I say, that doesn't take 16. Oh, but we're using the average true range of 14 bars starting 2 bars back. So that's our 14, 16, right? Very good. So we can just go here, go to properties, go to user define, just make that 16, make it the default, hit yes, hit okay. Now we go back to the chart. And then, so this one doesn't have to run 2 times because, I mean, why do you want stuff running more often than it has to? All right, we're going to go to user define 16. Okay, hit okay. All right, and then we're good to go. Okay, so guys, that's pretty much it. You have any questions, comments, concerns? Leave them here. I have been your host. I am Eric. I'm out. Peace.